Resonant Science Part 5. Ancient
Part 5,
Origins.
which is, the best of everything. We've been waiting for this. I feel like we've gotten...
This is my jam, man. I was like, ooh, okay. I don't exactly see how it connects 100% to physics, but it's cool.
Right. That was my thought too, actually. I was thinking maybe Unit 6 would sum that up. It would make the connection a little bit stronger. It was cool. Definitely.
There was some, okay, so like, I guess the gist of it is, it talks about how Buckminster Fuller, which by the way, I watched a documentary on him on YouTube like yesterday because they mentioned him a billion times in this module, and I was like, okay, who is this guy? Like, I know he was this whole course dome thing, but like besides that, and so he's super cool. I'm gonna include like a 1 hour bio or interview that someone had with him when he was older, and I like the way he thinks. He's very pioneering. So I'll include that, but it wasn't in the course, but I just found it like secondary, and I was like looking at YouTube. I was like, I need like a better condensed summary of him, because the stuff that they send you to the Buckminster Fuller Institute, which is like completely dense, like a billion things, and I'm like, I can't read that right now. I got too much other stuff to read. And also like I'm a video girl, like when I don't know, for retention.
Yeah, like you got to listen to it, see it, whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, so Buckminster Fuller, he did the geometric domes, but he also came up with, the 64 tetrahedron shape they found the significance of it or whatever. And then Nassim basically put that same shape into spheres that interconnect, like kind of like the Olympic rings. It's like a 3D flower of life kind of thing. And then he just, like they had some significance to like ancient ruins, like pyramids and stuff that were at like 19.47 degrees latitude, which is also kind of significant on other planets like Jupiter and Mars. And there's also, that's where the Kilauea volcano is. Like, so there's some like suggestion of like maybe ley lines and meridians that are important to some sort of grid.
Yeah, it was like Machu Picchu and Nazca lines.
Yeah, and then
Easter Island.
It talked about some of the like really Easter Island, Tikal, which I've been to Tikal. That place is really cool, and I really still want to go to the city of Matador, like in Guatemala. Like it's like a 6-day hike, and you can't just go. There's no easy way to go unless you're like really wealthy and you just want to take a helicopter in. But like you have to hike 6 days to get in or something.
Which may have been what that CNN crew did, because they included a video with like that news story from CNN, and that was cool. But hiking to the top of that pyramid, which was huge, it was like 200 feet up or something. It was like really high, but there was a ladder, so it looked kind of accessible. But I didn't know you had to like hike.
Well, they have archaeologists who have been working on the city, but it's not like Tikal. When I went to Tikal, was even not that many people were there. I mean, it's very also inaccessible to get to. There's like one eco lodge outside of it, kind of close to it, but otherwise there's not really infrastructure built up around it. So it's not ever going to be a huge
attraction, which is good.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, it keeps it pristine and reserved. And there, like I said, in Tikal alone, there was like 60,000 pyramids in that whole like region area. Like these places were bigger than New York City. Like in the video, it said they're bigger than LA. Like Matador was bigger than LA. Well,
yeah, I mean, and it's like a metropolis. They made it sound like interconnecting cities.
Well, they had these things called these C-bins that were like highway systems that connect everything. But you're just kind of going like, what was the significance of these pyramids? But then he talks about the octahedron, or where it's two pyramids where their bases are together, which is interesting because that was how my dream was. Remember I told you like that little healing dream I had where there was the pyramid below and the pyramid above. So that was before I ever saw any of this. So that's kind of interesting.
And that was with the thing in the middle, like the bed in the middle, right?
Yeah, the bed that like heals you in the middle with the magnet bed.
That heals you. Oh my gosh. For some reason I heard that kills you. I was like, what?
Oh, no. God, I hope
that
not.
Heals you.
But it's so weird because like when they were talking about like the difference between like Buckminster Fuller's like more like like without the spheres, but like the grids, and then Haramein's, and like how he wanted to have something that took up the empty space. Like you couldn't have void of empty space in there, you know, so you had to have overlapping spheres or whatever. And I was wondering if like the pulling out to like its points to back into like the center points to the end points, the center points, the end points, the center points, if that's like the oscillation of the universe.
Well, maybe that's the connection of the unified physics. Maybe there.
Yeah, that would be interesting if they tie that in. Anyway, so they go into like flower of the life, you know.
Yeah, flower of life is on many different structures around the world. I really liked that food dog in China, the forbidden that protects the forbidden city. Yeah, just on top of this flower of life sphere, which is so cool. Mm-hmm. Where else is it? In the Egyptian pyramids.
Well, in Egyptian Osirian, which I like in my last video I talked about that, or in my Egyptian video. One of the other ones, I showed that and talked about that one. That was the oldest one, and again, I guess it's burned into the rock, so that's kind of interesting. And it is like perfect, even when you're looking at it. It's not, you know, it's like something that our computers could do today. It's not like there's it like one is a little
it's
off
symmetrically perfect, right? Exactly. Perfect.
So I don't know if they had stencils or something. I don't know.
Yeah, who did that, and how with such precision.
Yeah. Oh, but then like the really cool connection for me within like the macro micro cosmic of the universe thing was when they were showing the human embryo when it very first starts dividing. It looks like this flower of life, you know, like the cells
it goes to from the seed of life to the flower of life.
Yeah, so within the first 24 hours of your like embryo first cell division to like, you know, whatever, it goes into that like 64, like it looks like a flower of life, and then it changes into more solid structures. So that's super awesome.
Yeah, and wait, and how long did that took 24 hours for that to happen? I was wondering if there was a significance of 64 as well, like the amount of time. I don't know, but I just was
I'm not sure if they have. That's some of the stuff is just kind of like we are pointing out cool things.
Yeah,
and you're like,
yes, cool correlations.
That's a cool thing. That's a cool correlation, but it's like, how is this applicable? We don't even know. And then it kind of goes into the Ark of the Covenant and like the Knights of Templar and all that, which is, you know, when I was in Egypt, it's funny because they talk about Elephantine Island towards the end here. Okay, so like before I get there though, so they talk about, you know, how all of these pyramid structures, like there's the Xi'an pyramid in China, which nobody can go to. That's not open to the public, but or from my understanding, it's not open to the public. And it's they are not even digging it up themselves, and they are just like in the same formation, like with the Orion's belt and everything as
I love that
is, which is so crazy that's like that, and it's really cool. So I really do wonder like what the significance of all these points are, and like if we should. But here's what makes me kind of like go like, okay, let's back the pony up though. So they already showed you Robert Schoch and Sir John Anthony West, who are big Egyptologist dudes, or not Egypt, they're like alternative Egyptology dudes who talk about like the Sphinx being way older than
time,
it is, and the time being like how there was an ancient race, a builder race or whatever, which I totally am down with and stuff. But the thing is like 10,000 years ago, like the Younger Dryas, there is quite a lot of like substantiated evidence, like even with Göbekli Tepe and stuff like that was intentionally buried. There was a lot of evidence to show that there was huge continental drifts and shifts, and like our okay, parts of Texas was still underwater at that point in time. Like our coastal lines look different. Like there was Doggerland, which was land that connected the UK to France. That was not two different. There was no English channel.
There was no channel.
There was it was all filled with land, and it sunk from like glacier or melting and stuff. And then there was like Zealandia, which is down by New Zealand, and it had a whole other like basically the world looked different just 10,000 years ago, which is not that far along. So sometimes I wonder then how significant these ley lines are or aren't if we had as much movement as we had. Just like if I can get that they're that old, okay, like that they're like 10,000 years or whatever, they are suggesting 9,000, 10,000 years, like potentially even older. Like some people are even claiming like some like this Bosnia pyramid, and there's some new pyramids that they found in Russia recently that there's some people claiming older, that they're like 40,000 years old, which is like cool, but they won't have been like the same ley line won't exist today that existed back then is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Yeah, so it was a different well, it was at a different point of on the Earth. It wasn't exactly at that whatever latitude and longitude it was on. Well,
and like and also those latitude and longitude, we even know our poles shift. We even know like they're arbitrary anyway, right? Because it's not a fluid, constant set thing. So sometimes like when they get into stuff like that, I'm like, meh, okay. Maybe.
Well, maybe what's happening below the surface is moving it along, or it moves along with it. So wherever it goes, it is going to be the ley line. I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like it's
saying,
actually
like,
below.
Like you're saying it's relation to like, because a ley line is just like what like a ley line is basically made up. Like what a ley line is it's like, oh, the line between like Stonehenge and the pyramids of Giza, we're going to call that a ley line because there's two significant points in that. And then, oh, it looks like a bunch of other stuff lines up around it, but it's not like, you know, it ends up we kind of think of it as diagonal latitude and longitude, but it's not actually, it's more, it kind of is more woo woo.
Well, I see what you were saying before about like the water differences. That doesn't necessarily mean that there were huge continental drift differences 10,000 years ago. I wouldn't know. I think, maybe you know, just because the water would change doesn't mean the actual plate changed, the tectonic plate. So it might wind up lining up with the time frames. But anyway, even I also agreed that 9 or 10,000 years doesn't seem out of reach. It seems to me like, if anything, that's underestimated about. I think it's just a lot older than that personally. So with the whole time thing, and that always goes out the window for me, because I'm just like, who knows? Who knows?
I know. Well, and you know how they measure it is
with the carbon dating, they still doing that?
The dating is it's like radioactive decay from cosmic ray. So it's like when this rock surface was like versus the inside the rock versus the exposed rock, how much cosmic radiation it gets from like the sun and the moon, everything hitting it. Like that's how but that is such soft science, how they come up with that number. Like that's what we're going on, how you're aging when a rock was exposed is essentially, And anyway, then like they even talk about how there's so many Egyptian people who have kings and stuff that have reattributed everything to them instead of then they have evidence for that. They have evidence that like a pharaoh would come and be like, that guy's been dead for 1,000 years. Let's call this the Khufu pyramid now, because I'm gonna make some tweaks to it, you know.
Right. Let's change the name of that airport to whoever the president is.
JFK died many years ago. Let's call
it's now Chase Bank like stadium.
Yeah, exactly. Not Dallas Cowboys. It's the AT&T Stadium.
Right.
And then we have like then he goes into a little bit of like the sun gods coming and teaching the ancient and which is basically ancient astronaut theory, which is, you know.
I love that. I totally love that.
I love that too, but like it is one of those things where
it's a big jump.
that's just as plausible as anything else for me. I'm totally down with that. But there's a lot of people that get super like, man, that's just not true. You could just be giving us not enough credit and blah 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 blah.
Right.
Whatever. I don't know. So then he gets kind of more into the Ark of the Covenant.
I love that. This is the part. This whole unit I really liked, but the Ark of the Covenant, yeah.
Yeah, and he even talks about how like Newton thought that Moses had his hands on a science, which, and actually when I was in Egypt, first of all, Moses doesn't, the name Moses, and that he was like a
high priest.
Pharaoh's prince that was raised, or, you know, like the whole story of Moses doesn't actually exist in Egypt anywhere, but they have a similar kind of guy or whatever that is, I can't remember what his name is. They have a similar adopted pharaoh prince who maybe that they might have some correlations with. But anyway, the thing is, they do have a lot of stuff, like for instance in the Great Pyramid, that, and I think they even pointed this out in the module, that sarcophagus is exact proportions of what the Ark of the Covenant
exact
was supposed
proportions
to be.
Yes.
Which now I kind of feel like a jerk for just laying down in it. Because I'm like playing around in it, like like, is the guard in here? No, the guard's not in here. Like get in, and I'm like,
oh my god, it's a good thing you weren't zapped.
I know.
You were not zapped.
Well, actually, I did see. That's when I saw that thing come out of the ceiling.
Oh no way! That's right.
That's where I was. That's what I was lying in.
Wow, they were like, he was like, Nikki, get out of there, Nikki.
I'm so
That's
dumb.
what they were
like,
trying to. That's what they came down to tell you. They're like, we don't want to have to kill you right now.
Well, and you know, it's like one of those things where like I'm just like, what is this? The King's Chamber? Okay, cool. I don't know much. Yeah, it's fun. Everybody's out of here. I'm alone in the King's Chamber. Hot damn. Okay. And then I'm like, I'm getting in there. I'm gonna start humming. I'm gonna, you know, whatever. I start like tuning like this little shaman.
Well, that's pretty amazing to think that if you were in there and if that was really where the Ark of the Covenant was kept, then there's some vibrational thing going on. That is pretty darn cool.
That's true. But then that also just makes me go like, oh, Nikki, like how disrespectful, right? And then also like, it's one of those things where,
yeah, but you did it with a pure heart. The Ark knows that.
I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, guys. Sorry, universe. I'm a jerk sometimes. But like, anyway, there is the story of, I didn't find this out till afterwards, but like presidents of the United States, when they visit Egypt and things, like aren't allowed in the Great Pyramid. Like Trump went and visited it like a couple months before we were there. And his wife was allowed in, but he's not allowed in because like Napoleon went in and spent the night in the King's Chamber in the sarcophagus, which is where I was, and like came out like ghost white and would never talk about it ever to anybody. Nobody knows what he saw or what happened to him in the pyramid. And a lot of leaders have had weird bad luck or weird things happen to them in the Great Pyramid, that so they don't tell, like, so it's like now it's a thing. There's like a stigma where
I kind of wish the heads of state would go in. I want to see what's going to happen to them.
I know, right?
Send them in.
They need to put them in.
Yeah, maybe they need to put them in.
Put them on some mushrooms and then put them in there. That'd be good.
Like maybe they could purify their hearts a bit.
Right?
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Okay, but we did go to this Elephantine Island, and it looks like, and maybe I could put some, I don't think I put a lot of stuff on that of this, but because they claim that the Ark of the Covenant really was in Elephantine Island at one point. And even here they say it was there before it went to Ethiopia. That's apparently where the Ark of the Covenant used to be housed. I don't exactly know where, but
yes. Okay, go ahead.
The theory is, when we were in Elephantine Island, is that it was a nuke, or basically whatever it was, the power source, and it blew. And so like, it looks like a nuclear blast like hit Elephantine Island. Like it is melted stones.
Wow, it was somebody messing around with the Ark of the Covenant that didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because they didn't, you according to this module, for people don't know, you have to go through like very serious rituals and an order of things in order to be, and training and all sorts of like special order.
The origin of the Knights of Templar was Egyptian high priestess, which were essentially scientists who were trained on what to do with this
this
technology,
energy,
that came from basically aliens, we'll say, and it's what was used to raise giant stones and the like.
And also to probably part the Red Sea and to
the Red Sea when they were chasing
the river of Jordan.
And it even talked about how they think after it left Ethiopia.
Yes. Wait, question there. I couldn't figure out, I guess I'll have to investigate more, but why was it headed to Ethiopia? What was like the significance of Ethiopia? Because there was another prince who was exiled.
It was like right by Aswan. It's like at the very south of Egypt. It's right next to Ethiopia. So I mean, it's like
I was wondering how close it was
towards there. I guess it was just for hiding purposes, right? And then
I don't know, because then there was that the exiled king of Ethiopia said that he wanted it back. He was exiled to Egypt, but then he said that it belongs in Ethiopia. But I was like, well, what would make it?
Yeah, but then it was confusing because it said that Graham Hancock talked to like a guard there who says that it's still there. The fort guard said that legends of white, blue-eyed, blonde-haired people were in Ethiopia, and it's now at the St. Mary of Zion Chapel. And then the guard claims that it rests there and that he is the only one that's allowed to see it. And then the guard says that the ark can lift the stela, like the 500-pound, almost like obelisk that's in front of that. And that only the ark can do that with celestial fire, and a man alone cannot do that. I don't know. I do think that there is something to there was some kind of way that they lifted this stuff that we don't have today. So I've said that before. I'll say that again. I don't know.
Yeah, and it was interesting to hear and to learn a little bit more about Jesus's connections with the Essenes and how and how he was just born into that. So he was already born into the Ark of the Covenant energy around him. So that's what made him special, because I was like, well, okay, so he didn't have the ark. He didn't walk around like Moses did, let's say, and like his miracles came out of him, right? So if that was the case, and if Jesus preached, this was my ending thought. I was like, and if Jesus was always like, everybody can do this. You have the power, like that was Jesus' whole big thing. Like, you're God too, like we can all do this.
Right.
So then what's the deal with the whole Ark of the Covenant then, if everyone could do this? And what are we missing from information from Jesus? Obviously,
I don't know. And Jesus. Dolores Cannon has a book she wrote about Jesus and the Essenes, which is kind of interesting. It's like a channeled book about his time living with the Essenes and what that is, because he has a lot of missing time from the age of 12 until he like shows back up when he's like in his 30s. It's like they're like, what you're doing? I don't know. Right. But yeah, so it talks about how maybe the Copper Scrolls like talk about how the Ark of the Covenant was with the Essenes at, right around 2000, or a little before 2000. So that's kind of interesting. And then they talked about like a sapphire crystal hexagon was also mentioned about in the Copper Scrolls, and I thought that was kind of interesting. So
what did you get from that? Because my understanding was that's actually what Moses came down from Mount Sinai with. It wasn't God written all these commandments. My understanding was that he actually came down with like these crystals. Was that what you got out of that?
Yeah, I was thinking that it was something that was produced from the covenant. I don't know. Maybe we should rewatch or re-listen to that. I was kind of going like, huh?
Yeah, it was very briefly mentioned that there were sapphire crystals, and the priests that had to do that special ceremonies in order to get to know anything about the Ark of the Covenant was they had sapphire on their clothing. So sapphire and what is the geometric structure of the sapphire? Oh, which is
it says a crystal in hexagonal.
Okay, hexagonal,
whatever. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I don't know. This is all kind of like, or wait, no, that's
Like
Rocky.
the Indiana Jones
Indiana
thing?
Jones. Yeah, this is all very Indiana Jones. Like, it
Right.
belongs in a museum.
Right.
Um,
Right.
okay. Like,
Yes.
and then I kind of go like, yes, it belongs in a museum. And what does this have to do with unified physics? But it's
Right.
awesome. It's very cool. I also like to go play Indiana Jones.
Well, okay, I can make the jump or make the at least conclusion maybe that the thing that has to do with unified physics is that if the tetrahedron keeps showing up and the flower of life and these pyramids, they keep showing up and all of these repeated things keep showing up in different cross cultures around the same time periods, that is they're showing some kind of unification, or that there's something going on, that there are these similarities that are probably not, they're not coincidental at very least. Yeah, so and also the third dimension being the whole geometric pattern of the 64 and the tetrahedron again, that to me was like the connection that's in everything with the life. Okay, so but that was like your own interpretation. It didn't come right out and say this is in unit 5 so far. There was no, I didn't hear any connection like this is unified physics, but but you make the conclusion.
Well,
and
you're right. Like, and I see the connections here. I do. I just, and even because it even goes in to show you that the ark then potentially went to Europe and it was used to like charge water, and there was a bunch of like magical fountains, which is weird because I was just watching this Zac Efron Goes Down to Earth or something, some Netflix show my mom made me watch, and he goes to France and they go to like some particular fountains that are known to heal people, like, and they actually are miracle fountains and they have records of them, and there's a lot of it, and it's kind of interesting. And then Dome of the Rock, which is right, is that in Jerusalem, I think?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's where they went in the first part. The Knights Templar went there. They set up shop something. Well, they dug underneath and they made all these tunnels, and they found something that wasn't the Ark of the Covenant, but that apparently some kind of knowledge or documents that they brought back to Europe. And that's when they started becoming really powerful. And then they got like too powerful for the Pope.
They got jumped and started doing secret societies, and then that's what set up America.
And that's what set up, the Masons came out of that.
Yeah, but I mean, it does make sense. Look at our dollar. Look at how Washington, D.C. set up. Look at how everything is, all these Illuminati skull and bone crap. But then that makes they're all bad.
Right. That's the thing. So I get caught in that too, because I'm like, wait a minute. So that was my question, actually. I had like this whole like, all right, so why are these only certain priests granted this access to this, to this ancient wisdom, or to this Ark of the Covenant, or the Holy Grail, or whatever. And like, why can't we have access to it? First of all, because everybody wants to hold the power. And then what does that mean for today? In today's, like, how is this playing out today? Like 2020?
Yeah, I don't know, because it really is bullshit. Because if there is some alien technology that came to us thousands and thousands of years ago, and we just have like, it's like it's the Game of Thrones to like get to play Gollum with it, like my precious that only I can be around, my precious, and you do nothing with, then like, why would they ever give us anything else? Like, I don't know.
Oh, right. Like they gave this to us, and then, and there's only just, a few. I don't know. That's why probably we can't read the real teachings of Jesus. I'll have to listen to the channeled stuff, because I think the whole point of Jesus was like, listen, you don't need all that. You have it inside of you. If we really did have this whole flower of life, or this tetrahedron stuff inside of us, right? It's at a cellular level, DNA, like everything that we have, the DNA, that's right. It talked about the 64.
And that goes back into, if you really are part of the whole, the hologram of, the
universe.
The other part of this one, where it's like a fractal. Universe is reflected in you. Yeah, you're a fractal of everything.
Right, exactly. So then you do have the power. We don't really need that. It's almost like pulling out the the curtain of Oz and just being like, all right, oh, okay, yeah, that was a big scary thing, and we actually have the same thing if we wanted. Whatever it is that we want, we can have or be. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what it comes down to, but it would be helpful to have a better guide. I don't know.
I know. I'm kind of going like, or can we have the updated stuff? Can we have some like updated messages or something? Like
updated messages, yeah. Well, it may be just going back to the whole meditation. You have to find it within yourself, because
I think you do.
Yeah, because otherwise, like, so you're running after this holy grail. Like literally people are running after holy grails for power. Right? Because otherwise, like, that's the person who has it, or the people that have it, or the people with the power. And why is there only one of this technology?
I don't know. And is there only one? Because I mean, like, it looks like there's pyramids all over the world, right? So like there's other continents. So like maybe there were, like, that's just the one we kind of have the biggest clue of. But you've done so little digging, it's not even funny.
Oh, it's so true.
Where we're allowed to just be, and it's very controlled. You know, we're very like harnessed in these cities, and we have highways, and then there's little roads that we can drive off of, and you can go a couple 100 feet from these roads, but there are vast amounts of land and things that are so off limit to us. Like, I sit out on the plane and I look out at what's out there. There are some really weird shapes of canyons and rivers, and like I mean I see weird shaped things. I'll be like, is that a mound or is that natural? And I'll be like, oh, is that caused by an electrical phenomenon? Because, you know, the electrical universe kind of shows how water kind of does this undulating thing, right? But then when you look at things like the Grand Canyon or something, it looks like the same as like an electric burn in the ground. Like there's a lot of these things where you're kind of going, there was some sort of electrical phenomenon that formed some of our geological formations. And so what's that about? Like, you know, so there's a whole other world that we, you know. And that's why I like Buckminster Fuller's like autobiography, because he said that he had to at 32 years old, he had to reteach himself how to think, because he said, you are grown in this society that's like, oh no, don't look there, look here, because like this is safe, and do this because I told you, because I love you, and I told you that this is how it is, so this is how it is. He said, but it wasn't until he like tried to commit suicide that he he had like some sort of epiphany where he was like, oh, this isn't really my life to take, like I just need to like this, I need to make the most of the time that I have left on the planet, and I need to think from, I mean, he didn't say this, but like service. Like from service, but he also was kind of thinking like from first principles, like think for yourself. Like don't always like go on the shoulders of giants for everything, because then you're going to go down the same pathways. If we want to discover new things, start from ground zero, like, and reteach yourself how to think about everything without influence, just for a little bit, and see what you can get from that aspect, which is cool.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's true. And
he had a badass looking car.
Oh, I didn't see his car. I did watch a documentary of him as well, but I don't remember his car.
It looks like a UFO. It's like a very aerodynamic, like,
cool
thing.
Yeah. It's funny. And then it's like, well, why didn't we learn about him? Why would we? I don't know.
I'm convinced like school is just a prison daycare system. It's just like, you know, it's like what did I learn in school when I was in school? I learned how to read, but then like what information that was valuable to anything did I learn? We focused a lot on wars, you know?
Yeah.
This war begot this war, which begot this war, which begot this one. And there was this battle within this one.
We're about to go into this one.
Yeah. I mean, I remember being like, that's why I loved art history, because I was like, oh, it's like history of how people lived without having to solely focus on, and then this battle happened, but they made the mistake of attacking during the winter. And what do they say? You never, I mean, like that, like these things are not important in my world. I mean, maybe they are too. My older brother loves that stuff. he like loves Civil War and like World War One and Two. That's great. That's good on him. But I'm sorry, there's other things in the world to think about besides that. It's what is it? Like history is written by the victors, and it's also that they don't want us to know a bunch of stuff. I don't know who they are, but basically.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I think that's pretty much, that pretty much sums it up. And it's, is there anything else that we should say about this section here? Let me think I'm just going to skim through and see if I have any final notes.
Yeah, I mean, it just, there were things like, it just gave me some more places that I definitely want to go to Easter Island. I definitely want to go to Angkor Wat. I definitely want to go to, Petra, Jordan, and some of these things that they mentioned in it. I was kind of like, ooh,
yes,
I need to make sure that I don't forget about these places. I already have a ginormous bucket list place of things I need to go see, but it's a good reminder.
It's a good reminder. Exactly. It's just, yeah, that's another thing. You don't have to stay here.
And I do also wonder what the significance of the constellation of Orion is.
I was thinking that too. That's a great thing to investigate a little bit more. So if they're all pointing toward Orion.
Or emulating
I was thinking
Orion constellation, then you're kind of thinking,
yes, emulating. That's right. They're not.
Is that the origin of the people who gave them the technology?
That's kind of what I was thinking. I couldn't think. That's the only thing that I could come to. The origin of the people who gave them the top technology.